What do you think you're doing, tearing my pantyhose like that? At a company party, my beautiful boss, drunk, tripped and ended up with her underwear showing. Instinctively, I grabbed her and tried to treat the injured knee, tearing her pantyhose in the process, but she got mad at me. A few days later, for some reason, I was summoned to her house. Why are you so nervous? Hurry up and come in. But I braced myself for a scolding, but it seemed things were turning out differently than I expected. The other day, you saw under my skirt, didn't you? What did you think? What? My name is Mike. I work in sales at a construction company. But my main job is to support my manager, Lisa. Lisa is a rare female manager in the construction industry and an ace in the sales department, striving daily to meet the company's expectations. Mike, make sure to prepare the materials for the meeting with K&R Realty in 2 weeks. Yes, understood. And don't tell me the materials aren't ready like last time, got it? Yes, I understand. Her words may sound harsh, but I know she says them out of concern for her subordinates. Lisa never acts arrogantly just because she's a boss and always considers the company and her team while working. Of course, she always puts in the effort to ensure she outperforms everyone else. In this industry, there are especially many people who look down on women. Despite that, she consistently demonstrates her skills and commands respect. She scolds me when I make mistakes and praises me when I do well. I admire her and always try to follow her example at work. But no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to do as well as she does. Compared to Lisa, I'm just an ordinary office worker. I have to admit, I've always been a diligent and quiet person since I was a child. Because of that, I was probably seen as a good kid by those around me. But that only lasted until early elementary school. As I grew older, my clumsiness and inefficiency started to show. Despite my significant growth of the body, my classmates began calling me a useless, oversized oaf. I was big, but I was timid. So, I couldn't stand up to such gossip, and the class leaders would use me to do their homework and take over their cleaning duties. This didn't change even in middle school, where my classmates would taunt me in mean-spirited ways. Mr. Brown. There's a wall in front of us, and we can't see the blackboard. We can't study like this. Mr. Brown, do you want us to fail our classes? When I sat in the front, they would say these things, and Mr. Brown, our homeroom teacher, would unhesitatingly move me to the back. But I was nearsighted, so when I was seated in the back, I couldn't see the blackboard. Yet, I couldn't complain about it. Because of my timid nature, I endured the inconvenience and tried my hardest to study. This can't be helped. It's true that the kids behind me can't see when I'm in the front. I just have to put up with it. I thought to myself as I endured day after day. But this wasn't limited to classroom learning. I faced similar complaints during gym class. When we had volleyball, just standing in front of the net would get me complaints like, "Hey, it's unfair to have such a high wall. He blocks everything." During basketball, it was the same story. "This is ridiculous. It's cheating if you can reach the basket so easily. Mike is the only one getting all the rebounds. That's not fair." Because of these complaints, I often ended up just watching during gym class. If I had been strong and confident, I might have been treated like a hero in the class. But because of my timid nature, I was always seen as a nuisance no matter what I did. I wanted to play basketball too. If I keep sitting out, it's going to affect my grades. What am I going to tell my parents? How could I explain to my parents what was happening to me at school? I constantly thought about this, but in the end, I couldn't say anything. Moreover, this wasn't limited to school. When I rode the train or bus, or went to the movies or amusement parks, being a head taller than my peers often led to annoying suspicions that I was lying about my age. As these incidents became a daily occurrence, I started to feel guilty as a child, thinking that being big is a sin. Eventually, I began to hunch my shoulders to make myself look smaller and avoided going out unless necessary. I already have to endure enough at school. I don't want to deal with it elsewhere. If I just stay home, I won't have to. With these thoughts, I became more withdrawn and less energetic each day. My parents, worried about me, asked what had happened, so I explained the situation to them. "Oh no, that's terrible. I'm sorry we didn't notice until now. It must have been tough for you." "No, I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. Mike, it's not your fault. thank you for telling us." With these words, my mom gently hugged me. Releasing everything I had been holding inside, I cried my heart out in her arms. My parents took immediate action. The next day, they went to school and complained to Mr. Brown about the terrible treatment I was receiving. However, Mr. Brown brushed them off as overly demanding parents and didn't take their concerns seriously. My parents were outraged. "You don't have to go to that school anymore," they said, and kept me home. Hearing the rumors, reasonable parents began to question the school's handling of the situation. During a class meeting, multiple parents accused Mr. Brown of ignoring the harassment I faced, and he reportedly turned pale. That evening, Mr. Brown came to our house to apologize. "I am truly sorry for what happened. From now on, I will ensure that any harassment is promptly addressed. I will make sure Mike doesn't have any more unpleasant experiences. Please come back to school. We are not so forgiving as to accept such an insincere apology. Moreover, our child has suffered an irreparable emotional wound. I'm truly sorry. It's not about your job anymore. We will let the law decide your fate, so please leave." My parents rejected Mr. Brown's apology and sent him away. Mr. Brown, finally realizing the seriousness of the situation after encountering my parents' genuine anger, seemed to be overcome with guilt. A few days later, Mr. Brown suddenly submitted his resignation to the school and disappeared. No one could reach him, despite multiple attempts. When my parents heard this from a friend, they felt somewhat conflicted but couldn't bring themselves to sympathize. A few days later, Mr. Smith, the principal, came to our house, now reversing his stance. "We deeply apologize for this incident. Mr. Brown has been dealt with appropriately and has resigned." I see. Also, to ensure that Mike's graduation and high school entrance are not affected, we will handle everything accordingly. Thank you for your consideration. Principal Smith wiped the sweat from his brow and kept bowing to my parents until the end. My parents were satisfied with his response regarding my graduation and high school admission. As promised, I was recommended to a high school known for valuing individuality. Finally, I could find some peace. At my new high school, my height was seen as an advantage, and for the first time, the boys complimented me, saying, "You're tall and cool." But since I had always seen my height as a flaw, I was initially taken aback by their reactions. Not being used to compliments, I couldn't easily trust the goodwill of those around me. Still, a woman appeared who said, "You shouldn't feel insecure about that." I like tall men, and I decided to trust her and start a relationship. However, after 6 months, her attitude changed. "My neck gets tired from always looking up at you, can't you try to lower your gaze as mine? You don't understand my feelings at all, do you?" She began to complain more and more, and ultimately said, "You're just too tall. I regret dating you," and she dumped me. Just when I was starting to gain confidence. In the end, my height once again left me deeply hurt. I resumed living hunched over, leading to another dark student life. I thought that if going to college would just lead to more of the same, it might be better to get a job instead. With that in mind, I started job hunting. But I wondered if there was any company that would hire someone like me. Contrary to my worries, I unexpectedly landed a job at a major construction company because they liked my appearance. I assumed that as a high school graduate, I would probably end up doing physical labor on construction sites. With this expectation, I showed up on my first day, but to my surprise, I was assigned to office work. Moreover, I was appointed as the assistant to the sales manager. Why would they assign someone as clumsy as me to assist the manager? With this thought, I followed John, the department head, as he led me to the manager. I was surprised to find out that the sales manager, Lisa, was a woman, and even more surprised that she was a petite, youthful-looking beauty. About 11 inches shorter than me. "Nice to meet you. My name is Mike, and I've been assigned to assist you, Lisa." "It's a pleasure to meet you." "Hey, are you making fun of me?" When I bent down to meet her eye level, she gave me a visibly displeased look. "No. Not at all. I'm 30 years old, you know. I'm older than you." "What?" "I'm sorry, you don't look it at all. Don't judge people by their appearance." "I'm sorry." She glared at me, and I quickly apologized. She told me to follow her for a job explanation, and as I walked behind her, I thought about it. "Oh, I see. Lisa must have faced the same kind of issues as me, but from the opposite perspective. I realized that Lisa had the opposite kind of insecurity as I did. Understanding this, I tried my best not to touch on the subject. However, Lisa often harshly dug into my old wounds with her blunt words. I've explained how to make these materials before, right? You're just big and useless. Did all your nutrients go to your body during growth? You're big, so stand tall. Don't slouch. She scolded me like this almost every day. Maybe I'm just not compatible with Lisa. Feeling this way made work tough. I sighed and said, I made Lisa angry again today. Well, it's my fault for not doing things right. Despite this, John always had me accompany Lisa on her business trips. Hey, Mike. Yes, sir? Lisa is going out again today, so make sure to go with her. Yes, understood. Lisa already had a disadvantage as a female manager. I figured John had a reason for having me accompany her, but I still didn't know what it was. However, there was a particular business trip with her that stood out. The client visibly changed his attitude upon seeing Lisa. Hey little girl, how old are you? I'm not a little girl. I'm 30 years old this year. What? With that face? You look like a college student. I really am 30. Thank you for saying I look young. Even if you're 30, do you know we're a liquor company? Can someone like you even drink? I like alcohol, so I drink quite a bit. Okay. Despite being insulted and unfairly treated, Lisa always responded with a smile, though she showed her frustration on the way back. But as soon as we returned to the office, she acted as if nothing had happened, smiling and giving directions to everyone. Lisa is strong, unlike me. I'm jealous of her. I thought so, but one day, as I was leaving the office, I happened to see her clenching her fists and shedding tears of frustration. When I saw her tears, I felt an overwhelming sense of sympathy. At that moment, I finally understood why John had me accompany Lisa. John is genuinely worried about Lisa. He probably wants us, who both have our insecurities, to support each other. I need to protect Lisa. From then on, I started standing up to clients who treated Lisa unfairly. However, my enthusiasm sometimes backfired, causing us to lose contracts. Mike, just don't interfere. It's enough for you to just stand behind me. I am sorry. Well, it's done now, but be more careful next time. After getting scolded by Lisa back at the office, I made sure not to speak out unnecessarily, even if I felt strongly about something. I realized that I shouldn't let my actions undermine Lisa's hard work. Instead, my tall, stern presence behind Lisa started to intimidate clients without me even realizing it. Gradually, the incidents of Lisa being mistreated decreased. One day, John called me to the meeting room. Excuse me. You wanted to see me, John? Ah, yes, come in. So, what is this about? I just wanted to tell you that I was right in choosing you. What? I recognize Lisa's abilities, but I was also worried about her. So my assumption was correct. John continued to talk about Lisa. Ever since she joined the company, her short stature and youthful appearance had caused others to underestimate her. Indeed, it's rare for a woman to be in sales in the construction industry. Interacting with burly, rugged individuals, she probably appeared like a young girl. However, through extra effort, Lisa had climbed to the position of manager on her own. Despite this, John was still concerned and saw potential in me as her support. Mike, you've been more helpful than I imagined. I truly appreciate it. No, I haven't done much. Lisa often gets angry at me. Haha, Lisa is strict because she's serious about her work. But she does it because she cares about you. You understand that, right? Yes, I do. Then accept it gracefully and continue to grow. Yes, sir. John smiled and said to me. He was looking out for both Lisa and me. To meet his expectations, I clumsily, but perseveringly, supported Lisa. To ensure Lisa wasn't disrespected, I put extra effort into preparing materials and proactively made suggestions. During client visits, I stood by her side, subtly intimidating them enough to make them take her seriously. As a result, my own performance improved, boosting my confidence. John noticed this and praised my efforts, and my evaluations steadily rose. Within a few years, I earned the title of assistant manager. One day, the company organized a social event at a bar. I'm not good with alcohol, and I don't really like these kinds of drinking parties. Honestly, I didn't want to participate, but when I consulted Lisa about it, she scolded me. "You're an assistant manager now, so at least attend the first round." So, reluctantly, I attended the drinking party. We went to a lively bar, but I couldn't help feeling out of place. Having avoided social interactions during my student years, I was not used to such environments. "Hey, Mike, are you drinking?" "Whoa, hey, stop that." A colleague who had always resented my rapid promotion took this opportunity, fueled by alcohol, to confront me. "How did you get in with the manager?" "What? I didn't do anything." "Really? Then how did you climb the ranks so quickly?" "Sure, you're doing well now, but you were a mess at first." You didn't seduce her, did you?" "Of course not." "Nah, no way. She's pretty, but she looks like a kid." "That would be so wrong, feels like something illegal." "Yeah, I get that." They continued making inappropriate remarks about Lisa, trying to provoke me. I wanted to grab my colleague who made those vulgar comments, but I held back, glaring at them instead. Suddenly, Lisa stepped in. "You guys seem to have a lot to say, but I've been alive 10 years longer than any of you. If you have something to say it to me directly." "What were you saying about me?" Nothing. We're, going over there now." Under Lisa's smiling yet intimidating presence, they quickly left without apologizing. "Lisa. It's always like this, Mike. Don't worry about it." "But it's fine. I think I drank too much, I'm going to get some fresh air." With that, Lisa, slightly unsteady, walked out of the bar. Worried about her, I immediately followed. Lisa always wore high heels, and even when she was sober, I often worried she might trip. Now, being drunk, I was even more concerned. I once pointed out her choice of footwear. "Mind your own business. I can wear whatever I want." She snapped at me, and I never mentioned her heels again. Just as I hunched to hide my height, maybe Lisa wore high heels to conceal her insecurities. But she's so drunk and unsteady. If she walks in those shoes, she's going to fall. I rushed to support her, but it was too late. My worst fear came true. Lisa tripped over the step at the entrance and took a spectacular fall. The force of the fall caused her skirt to flip up, exposing her underwear. "Oh, I told her this would happen, but I'm not looking. I didn't see anything." Looking around, I saw nearby employees awkwardly averting their eyes, clearly having seen everything. Given how close they were to the entrance, they definitely saw everything. Other employees, watching from a distance, started whispering to each other. "Wow, seriously? That's so embarrassing. I didn't know 30-year-olds wore such mature underwear." I glared at them, and when they noticed my stare, they quickly looked away. After ensuring no one was watching, I turned back to Lisa. Her face, already red from alcohol, turned even redder as she hurriedly tried to fix her skirt. As she struggled to stand, she wobbled again. Seeing this, I quickly stepped in, creating a barrier from prying eyes, and effortlessly lifted her in a bridal carry. "Excuse us for a moment. What are you doing, Mike?" Surprised, she raised her voice. "You've hurt your knee. We need to take care of it immediately." With a serious expression, I carried her out of the bar. The remaining employees watched us in astonishment. I set Lisa down on a bench in a nearby park and quickly ran to a pharmacy to get antiseptic and other supplies. Returning, I led her to a nearby water fountain and knelt down. "Excuse me for a moment." I made sure to get her consent before forcefully tearing the pantyhose around her knee. "Ah! What are you doing? You're so rough." Lisa slapped me as she yelled. However, I remained unfazed and turned to face her seriously. "You're injured, so please stay still." I calmed her down and washed the wound with tap water, applied antiseptic, and covered it with gauze. After finishing the treatment, I carried her back to the bench. Lisa seemed to regain her composure and looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry for losing my temper earlier, and thank you for taking care of me." "It was nothing. But I warned you, didn't I? High heels are dangerous." "Yes. I'm really sorry. No, I'm sorry for raising my voice. If it still hurts, please see a doctor. I gently admonished her and draped my jacket over her knees. Then, I pulled out my phone and called a taxi. I've called 2 taxis. Please take one home. Thank you. I went back to the bar to retrieve my belongings and Lisa's while we waited for the taxi. Feeling the stares of the other employees, I informed John that Lisa and I were leaving early, and that I left the bar. When I returned to the park, the taxis had just arrived. I gave Lisa a slight bow and got into the other taxi. But on the way home, I was filled with regret. Oh, carrying her like a princess might have been too much. And I ended up lecturing her. I'll definitely be called out by Lisa tomorrow. And what will everyone else say? I went home, holding my head in my hands, and went to bed, dreading what the next day would bring. The next morning, my fears came true. As soon as I entered the office, all eyes were on me. Predictably, the reactions of those around me were exactly as expected. With a small sigh, I sat down at my desk. The colleagues who had harassed me the night before approached, grinning. Hey, so you're really involved with Lisa? You actually see her as a woman? In a way, I respect that. One of them placed a hand on my shoulder, making obvious snide remarks. Another leaned in and whispered something inappropriate in my ear. So, how was it? Did something happen between you two after that? Furious, I grabbed his collar and punched him repeatedly. The sudden attack caused a commotion, and everyone rushed to stop me. 5 male employees restrained me while a few others checked on the other fallen colleagues. I stared in shock at the scene. I had never hit anyone before, no matter how angry I got. Afterward, I was called to John's office. I can guess what happened. Yes, I'm sorry. I'll explain to the higher-ups. For now, you'll be on a short suspension. Yes, I understand. I'm sorry for the trouble. I bowed to John and left the office. For sending a colleague to the hospital, I was suspended for a week. However, surprisingly, I felt no regret for my actions. I was that furious with my colleague. 3 days into my suspension, I was suddenly summoned to Lisa's house. I'm supposed to stay home, isn't that a problem? Why are you so nervous? The company isn't monitoring you constantly. Don't worry about it. Watching my reaction, Lisa laughed lightly and invited me inside. Seeing her in casual clothes for the first time made my heart skip a beat. Once inside, she served me tea and what seemed to be homemade cookies. These are my specialty. How do they taste? They're really delicious. They taste like something you'd buy. Great, I've always loved baking. However, after I finished eating, Lisa's expression turned serious. He had 2 teeth knocked out. His face was so swollen it was unrecognizable. Oh, really? Mike, why did you do that? I know you're not the kind of person to hit someone without reason. So tell me why. They kept making rude comments about you, saying they couldn't see you as a woman. I just couldn't stand it anymore and lost control. Under Lisa's intense gaze, I looked down and mumbled my response. I see. But what about you? Mike, what did you think? What do you mean? You saw, didn't you? Under my skirt, the other day. Lisa said, looking a bit embarrassed. For a moment, I didn't understand what she meant, but then I remembered the incident and quickly responded. I didn't see anything. That's a lie. You must have seen it, you were right behind me. I am sorry. I did see, but I looked away immediately. It was unavoidable. I admitted honestly, my voice growing quieter. Lisa looked a bit sad. You were pretty calm at the time. Do you find me that unattractive? She asked, looking up at me with her big eyes. Meeting her gaze, my face grew hot and my heart pounded. I think petite women are cute and I like them. I muttered softly, but it seemed Lisa heard me. I've told you many times, I'm over 30 now. I'm 10 years older than you, Mike. She said with a self-deprecating laugh. Then, she started talking about her past. Lisa struggled with her height since childhood, often being mistaken for a younger sibling when with friends or a little sister when with a boyfriend. To make her look taller, she wore thick-soled boots and sandals during her college years. However, once she became a working professional, she couldn't dress like that anymore, so she started wearing suits with high heels. Even so, my baby face made people treat me like a child. Even people I liked would say they saw me as a little sister or that I must be lying about my age, so relationships never lasted. I see. Actually, I've struggled with my height too. But in my case, people thought I looked older. I was called a nuisance and a wall because of my size. Listening to her story, I shared my own trauma. She looked up at me in surprise. So that's how it was. I've said terrible things to you over the years, haven't I? I'm used to being treated like that, so it's okay. Seeing her genuine remorse, I quickly reassured her. But watching her shake her head, I couldn't help but find her adorable. I couldn't just ignore someone struggling with the same issues. I said, speaking my mind. Lisa's head shot up in surprise. Her expression was one of astonishment. Seeing her face, I couldn't help but laugh. You're really something. Sorry. Talking with you cleared my head. Stand tall and be confident. I won't let them fire you. As she finished speaking, she stood on tiptoe, pulled me down by my collar, and kissed me. What? Blushing deeply from the sudden kiss, I leaned back in surprise. When I looked at Lisa, she was smiling mischievously, as if her prank had succeeded. I took a deep breath to calm myself. I'll be your shield from now on, Lisa. Then, I kissed her and held her close. Lisa accepted my embrace and leaned into me. In this way, we were able to express our feelings for each other. After my suspension was lifted, thanks to Lisa's persistent efforts to convince the higher-ups, I was able to return to work without any issues. The colleague I had punched had returned to work the day before my suspension ended, albeit still wearing a mask. John and Lisa reaffirmed to everyone that my promotion was based on my abilities, causing the employees who had previously made insinuations to look down in embarrassment. However, to avoid any further misunderstandings, I need to make an official announcement. With that, Lisa linked her arm with mine. Lisa? Mike and I have decided to start a relationship with the intention of marriage. That said, we won't let our personal relationship affect our professional roles, so we'll remain as manager and subordinate. Therefore, there's no need for any special treatment. Let's continue working as we always have. She said this with a bright smile, addressing everyone confidently. Wait, Lisa? Surprised, I put my hand to her shoulder without thinking. Looking around, I saw our colleagues, including John, initially in shock, but then they burst into applause. Lisa and I exchanged embarrassed smiles. After announcing our relationship, Lisa and I began dating, and she seemed to become even more beautiful. Lisa stopped wearing high heels and no longer felt the need to appear stronger than she was. This change made her even more attractive, and many people began to notice her. Some male employees from other departments, unaware of the situation, started showing interest in her. I could totally go for Lisa now. She's got that baby face but is also stunning, makes you want to protect her. Yeah, I get it. She's got that mature woman vibe now. Hearing this, I would quietly stand behind them, intimidating them into silence. They would then squeak in fear and quickly disperse. Am I some kind of monster or something? Haha, you're my precious wall, so it's okay. Lisa, that hurts. Of course it hurts, I'm doing it on purpose. As I made a self-deprecating remark, Lisa started playfully smacking my large back. Receiving Lisa's loving scolding, I vowed to continue doing my best for Lisa.